Hi, this is Sarah Linger with PianoKeyFinders.com, and this video is to go along with a March blog post about going around the circle on an example from Puck, Grieg's Opus 71, number 3. It started by the Polopsian dance going around the circle from last month, which was February 2025, and it emphasizes the natural minor. And so as I've been doing this with my students, we are connecting this exercise with this exercise with this exercise. And it's not doing the exercises for the sake of doing the exercises. It's the idea of getting it to being able to play pieces and understand complicated ideas. So the Polopsian dance was the theme that I used is natural minor scale. It's a little simplified compared to the original, but the idea was to get people comfortable on playing natural minor scales, hearing it, and then feeling it on all the different keys. So when we were doing the natural minor scale, major scales, I found that a 4 and 4 fingering to get comfortable on the geometry of the keys was good, but it didn't work so well for natural minor. So instead of using 4 and 4, I used 3 and 5, namely 3 fingers in the left hand and 5 fingers in the right. So a natural minor scale for A, for example, 3rd finger on A, 5th finger on A, and here we go. And then going up a 5th to E, and up a 5th to B minor, and so on. So as you get comfortable going around the natural minor scale, then playing the melody becomes kind of easy in all the keys. Easy to memorize, easy to play, it fits in the fingertips pretty nicely. The next thing was, as I'm playing around the circle on this with the 3 and 5 configuration, I'm hearing this a lot. And it triggered a memory of playing Burgmüller's Arabesque, Opus 100, number 2. The Opus 100, number 2 sounds like this. So the 3 and 5 fingering got you doing the little da-da-da-da-dum and the 5-note minor scale. The actual Burgmüller is played with the melody with the right hand, and it's doing a little cadence with the left hand, which is similar to the major cadence that we had done when we were playing Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In Around the Circle. So all of my students had that pattern in their left hand in major, so now we're working on it in minor. So when you play the Burgmüller Arabesque, it fits fairly easily under the fingertips because they've already been doing the motions in other places. Now, I didn't go crazy and turn the Burgmüller Arabesque around the circle, but I thought about it. Didn't, but I thought about it. So as I'm doing it triggered another thing, which was Grieg's Puck, Opus 71, number 3. So Grieg wrote all of these lyric pieces. They were super duper popular. They were like the pop music of the time. When he printed or submitted another set of the lyric pieces to his publisher would fly the flags half-mast to indicate that there's another set going out. And it made quite a bit of money for Grieg. So Puck is a mischievous sprite, and the motive or motif comes over and over and over in that piece, except for it's that comes over and over, and then it starts in minor and then it goes to major. So that got me thinking about doing a little exercise around the circle, going from the relative minor to the relative major. And so that exercise ended up being this. Okay, so there's A minor. Then going up to the next one would be E minor, G major. So going around the circle in that fashion had a few other things that popped out, like the relativity of major and minor. And it so happens that if you're doing the perfect fifth on A and E, followed by the perfect fifth on C and G, when you add those two together, you get a minor seventh chord, which is a useful chord to have. Minor sevenths come in all over the place, and so it helps me teach minor seventh chords. It also helps people remember major and the relative minor chords. That led to doing the new piece checklist, which is available on the blog. And the new piece checklist was to get people thinking about what the keys are, what the order of sharps and flats are, tonics, dominants, and subdominants. I mean, all of this is just coming out from this repeating around the circle and starting to recognize and spot patterns organically, instantaneously. They just kind of float up to the surface because you've been doing all of this. So with the new piece checklist, looking at Puck has 6 flats. 6 flats for most people is super duper ugly because 6 flats means that you have to remember all sorts of things when you're reading the music. So 6 flats is E flat minor, which is related to G flat major. When you're going around the circle and all the keys, you're going to get all of those E flat minor, A flat minor, G flat major. All of those things are going to come out as you play them, and your fingers are going to get really accustomed to doing this. So by going through the tonics, dominants, and subdominants for Puck, you see that E flat minor is related to A flat minor, which is how the piece begins. And then it moves up to, so E flat to A flat, already in the fingertips. And then when you get to the next little section, it's in G flat major. So that's the relative to the minor. And G flat major is, the tonic is G flat, the subdominant is C flat, and the dominant is D flat. And the pattern that you're doing going down, G flat, D flat, C flat, and then back to G flat. So by going from there, the movement over to Puck is actually pretty easy. So last week I was teaching a few online students, and because they understood G flat, D flat, C flat, they're able to play it without being, the fact that there's 6 flats in the key signature doesn't even bother them because they already know how to do most of the piece. So it gets better. I mean, these things just keep coming over and over and over again. So the next thing that in the Puck piece, there is a diminished 7th chord. Diminished chords are built on minor thirds. There are 20 gajillion ways of spelling diminished 7th chords. And in the Puck piece with 6 flats, Grieg decides to use the same chord with the same pitches and inverting it. But instead of just writing the chords as inverted chords, he respells the chords each time with a different root. So there is a B diminished, a D diminished, an F diminished, and a G sharp diminished, but the pitches are all the same. So B diminished, D diminished, F diminished, G sharp diminished. Now, those diminished chords, it's just moving up a minor third, dropping the bottom third, moving up a minor third, dropping the bottom, moving up a minor third, and it's a pattern. But the spellings of those chords are really ugly. Like the F diminished, when you spell it, it's F, A flat, C flat, E double flat. Yuck. The D diminished, D, F, A flat, C flat, because 7th chords need to have 1, 3, 5, and 7, and so then the spelling gets all crazy. But if you understand that it's the same diminished pattern going over and over and over again, then it's a lot easier. So when you get to that second section in the Puck piece, he's using the diminished progression to get you from the low end of the piano to the top end of the piano, and the melody flips to the left hand, and then dun 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 on this diminished thing, and then same melodic pattern, and then it moves up. And if you get the diminished and that little pattern with that little snippet of melody, then Puck, which went from this behemoth thing with 6 flats and these ugly spellings of diminished chords, actually becomes quite manageable. And that in a nutshell, I mean, it's a 10-minute nutshell, it kind of explains the thinking behind why I'm going through the circle of fifths so much. Oh, and then from that diminished thing, just as a side thing, I went through this whole thing with an older student of mine who basically comes in for coaching, and he pulled up a Scott Joplin piece. And in the Scott Joplin piece, the first thing when you open the page that I noticed immediately was a section where your left hand is doing the G sharp diminished, the right hand is doing descending G sharp diminished, and then going to a C. And then when we looked at the rest of the Scott Joplin piece, there were diminished seventh chords all over the place. And you could see them, they just start popping out. It's like if you bought a red car, everybody's going to be driving a red car or whatever it is. So that's a little of the background on why I'm going around the circle of fifths. It's not just for the sake of doing it. It's because it ties directly into all of the things that my students want to do. Changing the key each time makes it possible to get that feeling in your fingertips, but because you're on a different set of keys, it just makes it different enough that you don't get bored. And going around the whole circle makes it feel like you've accomplished something, and learning becomes accelerated. There are a whole other layer of things that came off of the Palopsian dance, because the one that I started here used the single melody, but I put in seventh chords with the melody in the right hand, and then that springboarded to all of these other things that are happening. So I hope that this gives you a little background into why I think that this is so cool and why I will never go back to just teaching F, C, and G to beginning piano students. If you can get them to do all of them from the very beginning, then G flats and E flat minors become a piece of cake. Anyway, this is Sarah Linger with pianokeyfinders.com. You can find links to the blog where it has downloads of the Puck Around the Circle, Puck, the Arabesque, and then the Circles of Fifths, and the new piece starting kit. Thanks.